Welcome back to Season 12 of Limited Supply, the only commerce podcast with unfiltered and refreshingly hot takes. I'm your host, Nick Sharma, and when I'm not recording, I'm behind the scenes scaling your favorite celebrity and consumer brands. Let's start talking all things direct to consumer. Today's sponsor is OmniSend, email marketing that actually makes sense. OmniSend gives you powerful features without the clunky, complicated, and overpriced experience. Email, SMS, flows, reporting, everything you need. Learn more about how OmniSend stacks up against its competitors at nick.co/OmniSend. All right, welcome back to Limited Supply. This week we've got a slightly different format of the podcast. There was a talk that I gave in San Diego, and then it went so well, I decided to give the talk again. And this time I recorded it so that I could share it and put it on here for everybody. So instead of just a couple hundred people getting access to this talk, it's going to be tens of thousands of people now. So I may reference things like, I'm on stage or I'm excited to be here today. That's just because this was for a virtual conference. But listen to this podcast. There's a bunch of good nuggets in there. If there's anything you want me to go deeper on, just DM me on Twitter or shoot me an email. I'm just n@sharma.com. And honestly, I think at the very least, you'll make $100,000 off of this one episode just by testing something that I talk about. Everything that I talk about has been tested with big brands doing 50, 100, 200 million. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All right. I'm excited to take the stage here. One of my dear friends is Dylan Ander, the founder of Heatmaps. So couldn't be more excited to do this and just share some things with you guys that I've been seeing. We've got about 20 to 25 minutes. So we'll see how much we get through. Hopefully we'll get through a bunch of it. And if not, then you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to answer any sort of questions that can be helpful. So quick introduction on myself, and then we'll get into the nuggets here. I've got a lot of golden nuggets today. So first off, I'm Nick Sharma. I've scaled a bunch of brands over the last 7-ish years. I'm currently the CEO of Sharma Brands, which is a growth marketing agency. We work with a ton of brands that you'll see on the next slide. I'm an investor in a bunch of direct-to-consumer brands as well as software companies. So I've seen both sides and just tend to know that landscape very well. Everything I'm going to talk about today is pressure tested. So everything that I'm about to show has been tested with a brand that's probably doing at least 100 million in revenue. And, I'm not going to show you anything that I haven't tested before. And what else? I'm a psychology guy. I love to understand the why behind people buy. I like to think about how to challenge, how do we make something better, 1% better all the time? I love being an early mover to new platforms, new tactics, new arbitrages. So that's me. And here are just some of the brands that we work with. And I only put this here to give some context on why I think, I just want to show you the proof that today's stuff is legit. So before we get started, if you want a copy of this deck, because it's a very text heavy deck, I don't want everybody just spending their time taking notes or screenshots. Feel free to just put your email in on this link, and I'm going to send you a full copy of this deck right after. So let's set the stage here. Now, there's a lot that's been going on with e-commerce as of lately. The tariffs is obviously a huge one. Tariffs are now driving landed costs way up. Margins are already thin. Most e-commerce businesses, they may be making $50 million, but no real profit at the end of the day. And that's only gotten more constrained with the tariffs. So tariffs is a big thing. The cost of advertising, we know this is a fact. Everybody says this, it's going up. I think most people say it's up 40%. But the real thing about the cost of advertising is not only is the cost of advertising going up, but the complexity and the competition is also going up. So as a result, not only are you paying more to show the same ad to the same people, you're also competing against a ton of other players for the same person, for the same product maybe. So what does that mean? It means that standing out and having better content, better positioning, better messaging, better analytics, better resources, whether it's an AI agent or better tactics, whether it's an advertorial, you need to figure out how you're cutting through the noise and what your tech stack, your resources stack, your research stack, all of that looks like in order to allow you to cut through the noise in the best way possible. So that's the stage, that's the context. Now I want to get into it. So my first tactic is TikTok. And you might be thinking, yeah, we've heard about TikTok. TikTok's been around for a few years. Well, let me tell you about the ways that I see brands using it in the most innovative ways. The first one is live. Real-time selling, it's happening, it's working, and it's growing. When TikTok live shopping first started, I think everybody was a bit skeptical that whether it would work or not, or whether that's normal for US-based culture, or whether, that was something that would take off. But let me tell you, there are brands making, $20,000 to $100,000 per live. And it's a matter of them making sure they have the right setup to go live, a small studio, good lighting, good background, good props, good messaging. And essentially it's the QVC for Gen Z. Or let me explain the rest of this first before I talk about the best way to go about it. Second one is TikTok Shop. If you're not already doing this, you should be on it. You probably know about TikTok Shop. They take a fee right now, which is, I believe, 6%. It's going to go up. So if you're not already on there, you're missing out on that 2%. That'll get to 8% shortly. Also, TikTok Shop reviews are the only reviews that I think cannot be manipulated by any means. Meaning, and also customers know that. People who are shopping, they know that you can't manipulate TikTok reviews. You can't fake them. You can't upload them. So the quality of social proof on TikTok is insanely, or not the quality, but the relevance to an individual or the influence of a TikTok Shop review is insanely high. I think, in my opinion, I tend to rank where I think what levels of influence have the highest. TikTok Shop's at the highest. Your website reviews are probably at the lowest because you can fake those. You can write them in. Vogue or Refinery 29 talking about your product is probably somewhere in the middle because people know that those can be bought or paid for or affiliates. But TikTok Shop, you can't necessarily do that. You can't really just get fake reviews on TikTok Shop. Next one's affiliates. So obviously building out a affiliate program on TikTok where, you incentivize people to sell your product. They get a commission. Maybe it's a bounty plus a commission. Maybe it's just a bounty per product, whatever it is. And also the best thing about this is TikTok has built the best affiliate platform internally. So you can set up your program. You can invite creators. You can message creators. You can send them products to seed. You can spark and whitelist their ads in a very easy way, which brings me to the last piece, which is just working with creators, whether or not they're affiliates or live affiliates or they're posting. If they're creating content about your brand and they're putting it up and you whitelist or spark it and start pushing it with ad spend, the best model I've seen that's fair to both sides, especially, for a brand that's scaling, is you give the creators 2% of ad spend. So if you spend $100,000 behind an ad that's super efficient, it's very fair to give them $2,000. If you're spending 100, you're probably making, 200-300 out of that. So these are the 4 ways that I've seen brands use TikTok in a really effective way. Now, obviously you want to post organically. You want to make sure you're seeding with creators. You want to make sure you're building a community. You want to make sure you have good content pillars, all that kind of stuff. But these are the 4 things that I've seen are driving the most scale and growth on TikTok. With live and shop and affiliates, you can honestly leverage the affiliate network for all 3 of those to find your best people. And then for the creators, you can leverage affiliates as well, but you can also just do a non-affiliate way and see if that works for you. Okay. Next one is advertorials. Now, advertorials are essentially editorial articles that are secretly ads. So you've probably seen articles like, I tried this toothbrush all over Instagram and here's what I thought. That's a very classic BuzzFeed style article. Gets you hooked in. It's relevant. It's relatable to you because you've probably seen that Quip toothbrush all over Instagram. I'm literally referencing an advertorial from 2017. And the entire process is amazing because the conversion path here, when you're running a normal ad, you're going from, you have a billboard essentially on somebody's feed, right? Somebody's scrolling through Instagram while they're taking a dump or they're out on a walk or they're in between meetings or maybe they're using the bathroom in the office. They're scrolling on Instagram. No one wants to see your ad and no one opens Instagram and thinks, I can't wait to click this ad and go explore a product page. So the reason I love advertorials is because when people open Instagram, they're ready to be entertained. They want to consume, right? They want to see, for example, if I open my Instagram, I just see video recaps of like DJ sets from the last week. Or I might see sports highlights from the last week or from last night, whatever it is, right? Let's go Knicks. And, but if you open Instagram, you might see something different. Now, the reason advertorials do so well is because when you open Instagram, you can actually push a piece of content that's relevant to the person scrolling. So let's say I'm in the market for finding a new office chair, right? And there's a brand that sells office chairs. And, the ad might just say, shop, orange juice office chairs. I'm just making up a company name. And get 10% off, right? No one's going to click that. It might say orange juice office chairs have 100,000 plus ratings. It's good. And we'll talk about reviews in a second, but it's still not as strong as, an article that says I couldn't get rid of I couldn't get rid of back pain in the office for years. Then I found this office chair. Right now, I'm like, wait a second. I've got back pain from my office chair. How do I click this? Or let me click this and see what they figured out, right? It invites you to sort of come into a story that's relatable or something that you're looking for. And because Instagram, Facebook, as you know, Facebook pixels on every site in the world. They know exactly what you're looking at, what you're interested in. They know who you're DMing. They know what your friends are interested to. They know if I'm with my best friend and our locations are together, we're likely talking about something that they just looked up, and then I'm going to see the ad for the same thing that they looked up earlier in the day. All that said, advertorials are phenomenal because if, for example, let's say Dylan from Heatmap is scrolling through and needs an office chair, he's going to click that advertorial. He may not click an ad, but he's going to click the advertorial because he's going to want to learn more. Plus, you go from an ad to the article page to an optimized product page or a landing page. So you don't just go straight from, hey, buy this chair because we say it's good, to click the add to cart button. You go, hey, here's a really interesting story, something you might be relating to. Here's the actual story. You read it, and then you start to get sold on the product. And then here's a landing page with an offer. And also here's everything you need on the landing page: the social proof, the why, the what, the, who's behind this company, all that kind of stuff. Advertorials crush. And the reason I'm spending so many minutes on this is because you should do it too. This is it for an example of a funnel, right? So you see, this is for the farmer's dog versus Ollie, an advertorial that talks about the two. First one is basically, comparing the two. The second one goes to an article, right? Somebody might be thinking about getting fresh dog food for their pet. The third one goes to a landing page that we built and, essentially increases the conversion rate or maximizes the opportunity of people to convert once they get to that page versus to a product page. The other thing is engagement is off the charts with advertorials because people see these as publisher content. They don't see them as straight up ads, right? And they're also, you can see here, they're running from the publisher pages. They're not running from the brand's own handle. So it feels very authentic when it pops up in your feed. I only put these here not to sell you anything. I just want to show you how legit advertorials are. Advertorials are so great for products that are really expensive, have a long sales cycle, require a level of education to understand the product benefits, or I should say, so all those all those it's expensive for its category. 8 Sleep is a perfect example. No mattress is as expensive as 8 Sleep, obviously, because it has a technology component. You have to get pretty educated on 8 Sleep. It's a long sales cycle because it's a few $1,000 product, and it's typically hard to sell with just a billboard. You have to really walk somebody through the benefits. Another one we did was Cadence, and same thing, right? You've got these travel capsules you've got to explain. And again, the only reason I want to show these numbers is because you've got to figure out how to do advertorials. They're hanging in plain sight. This is the lowest hanging fruit. And if nothing else from today's sessions, you should do this. Okay, next thing is influencers. Now, we talked a little bit about this a second ago as it relates to TikTok, but influencers are not just TikTok. They are bloggers, they're vloggers, they're newsletter writers, they are, Instagrammers, they're YouTubers. They're people who are maybe even just like socialite type of people. There's basically 3 main things you can do with influencers. One is whitelisting. So again, this is not about, paying for their reach. You're basically paying for their handle and their name and their content. The second one is just content creation. So whether or not you whitelist from their account, you are getting content because they're good at creating content. And you can use that content on your website, in your email flows, on product pages, in paid ads, organic social, signage, brochure, wherever it is. But you're basically just looking for a more efficient way to create content than going to a studio or to a production company. A typical photo shoot also might run you anywhere from 10 to 30 grand, right? A good photo shoot. But if you work with a creator who's a really good photographer, you might end up getting a whole photo shoot for like 5-10 grand all in. So there's different ways to leverage content creators. They don't have to be influential or have a bunch of followers. They can also just be really good at creating content. And then the last one is seeding. And the reason I love seeding is because when you seed, people post about it. When you post about it, it creates a psychological effect that this product is everywhere. The other thing you can do that I love doing is like if you partner up with an influencer who actually has a following and is famous, well-known, well-respected, you can say, hey, we're going to seed, let's say you're a cookware company. We're going to seed $1,000 worth of cookware and put it in a really nice gift box and send it to all of your top influencer friends. Those people are going to get a product and they're going to get it from a cookware brand with a note from this person that's, the celebrity that we're paying to work with. And they're all going to want to post because why would they not post something that came from one of their friends who's an influencer, who's also influential and well-respected and all those things. So seeding is a phenomenal strategy. If you're on TikTok Shop, for example, or you work the TikTok affiliate side, you're going to have to seed. The only way to properly do those programs is by seeding, 1,000-ish people, sometimes a week. I know brands doing a couple thousand a week. So seeding is the last one. And of course, what I just mentioned, seeding with an influencer to their network, the best way to do it. Next one is volume creative testing. So most people think you can just put up some ads and one of them is going to hit. Reality is 10% on average of ads ever find meaningful scale. Most of them never get past a few hundred or a few $1,000 in spend. Most of them don't get any efficient spend. Some are just not liked by the algorithm and their CPMs get higher. Some can never get that click-through rate going, but 10% of your ads on average will really pop. And so the only way to find winners is to scale into them or to test into them. If you're not testing with a proper testing cadence, a testing structure, if you don't have an ad set or a couple of ad sets where you're testing 2 to 3 audiences within a 7-day period to see if it has legs and then scaling it over to a larger ad set that with bigger daily spend, you're not testing enough and you're not testing the right way. Also, you just got to stop overthinking production. You just have to put your phone down sometimes and record, go on Canva, make some statics, go on Figma, make a few templates, go find what's working for other brands and just copy that layout or that format or that structure, but try everything. And when you feel like your messaging is so narrowed in, like you feel like you've tested so many things and there's only a couple things that are working, that's when it's time to reset again. And the best way to do that, I like to use this framework where I do a couple things. One is I like to think, okay, let's say I'm selling, I've just got this hard drive here. Let's say I'm selling this hard drive. I want to think about the 25 different reasons somebody's going to buy this hard drive and then make static or video ads, whatever, that basically speak to those 25 different reasons and then test. Based on those and the click-through rate, you can then decide which reasons to double down on with different formats of creative. So if I test 25 statics for 25 reasons and the static about, faster transfer time for large video files is the one that does best, I'm going to go make, an animation ad with that message. I'm going to make a video ad with that message. I'm going to get an influencer to make an ad with that message. I'm going to make 5 other statics, different layouts, same message. And that's called volume creative testing. You just keep throwing stuff at the wall. Obviously, you want to make sure things are on brand, things are succinct with your brand message. They're not like all over the place, but you have to test a bunch of stuff and you can't be romantic about what you're testing and how, if you're getting too romantic about the little things in your ads that most people see for half a second or 1 second at max, you're never going to be able to do this properly. Ever feel like your email marketing tools are working against you? The more you want to do, the more they start charging you. With OmniSend, customers can earn $68 on average for every dollar they spend. Why pay enterprise pricing for features you don't even use? With OmniSend, it's so good, it's boring, which is how it should be with email. No clunky dashboards, no unnecessary roadblocks, just a platform that lets you focus on strategy and revenue. Learn more or try it for free at nick.co/omnisend. That's nick.co/omnisend. Okay, going back to conversion now, which is what we're all here for today. Although I think of this whole, everything I'm talking about, I think of as the customer journey. And in my opinion, if you're not optimizing every piece of the customer journey, then there's no point in just optimizing the website for conversion rate. So this obviously goes back to the site, but if you're not running landing pages and you're just running standard PDPs from the Shopify theme that you're using or from the website that you built at launch, you're just wasting ad dollars. If most CPCs can be anywhere from $1 to $8 per click, right? Depending on what you're selling and how competitive it is and how hard it is to find that consumer. Let's say you're spending $4 a click, right? To be fair, if you're driving them to a PDP that's got a shop section on top, one section of description and then reviews, you're just wasting your dollars, because if 1 out of 200 people, 1 out of 100 people are buying from that, what happened to the other 99% of people who are getting there? You're just not optimized. So in my opinion, most PDPs are not set up from the get-go. Most people use standard Shopify templates, or they buy a Shopify theme and then they sort of customize it, but you only really take it like a template and just backfill the information that was there when you got it. Instead, the way I like to build PDPs, especially because now dynamic product ads and catalog ads are becoming such a big driver of revenue and traffic, I like to make sure that I test with landing pages, and then I take all the learnings, what modules did well, what messaging did well, what angles did well, what photography had the highest click-through rate, what offer did the best, what bundling or what way of listing out the price was most effective, what comparison chart was best. I like to take all of those juicy nuggets and modules and bring them over to the PDP, because your PDP is sometimes your landing page and the only touch point somebody sees. This is again why advertorials work so well, because you can explain all of this through a story before somebody gets here. But if you're not doing that, or if you are doing that and you run catalog ads, you're going to get traffic to your PDPs. So that's why I always want to make sure PDPs are properly optimized, accurate, organized, and ready to answer questions. I like to think of landing pages and PDPs as a red carpet. And I like to think of your site visitor as Kim Kardashian on the red carpet, and you as the brand are Kim's assistant on the red carpet. If Kim's walking a red carpet and you're the assistant, you need to have every possible answer right there, right? She doesn't have time to go and do research, to leave the red carpet, to wait for an answer. So I like to think of this as you've got 5 main questions you need to just answer over and over and over again on any PDP or any landing page. And that is, 1, what is the product? But you have to explain it like you're talking to a 4th grader or to a drunk grandma. The second one is, how does it benefit me? So me being the consumer visiting the site. So if I'm visiting, if I'm buying this product, I need to know how does this specific product benefit me in the function of what I'm doing, right? So as personal as you can get while also staying broad. Number 3, what gives you, the brand, the right to sell this product to me, the consumer? So that's where you want to make sure you have social proof, you have credibility, you have backstory, you have some history. Social proof honestly goes the longest way here. The 4th one, how does it compare to others on the market? There's obviously other options for hard drives available, but why should I be buying this one over the others? And then the last question is, if I order it today, how fast do I get it? And then what if I don't like it? What happens? Is there a return policy? Is there a customer satisfaction? Whatever it may be. If these 5 questions over and over and over again are just answered on your product page or your landing page, you've got 85, 90% of an optimized page. The other 10% is just nuance based on your brand, your product, your customer. And, those type of insights come from either research on platforms like Reddit or Twitter or TikTok to see how people are talking about your product, what questions they have, what intricacies they, come across as they open the box or use the product or share the product. And also then things like customer service DMs, Instagram DMs, any customer conversations. That's where you get that last 10% of gold to put into a product page or a landing page. Next one is an internal content creator. This was something that was a much bigger thing to do a couple years ago. Obviously when the market was way up. And money was being thrown around a lot more, but I'll tell you why this works. If you're a brand that's doing 50 million plus, this actually is a cost saving role. If you have an internal content creator, not only will they help manage organic social, help manage your influencers that you work with as a brand, also build those relationships with those influencers. That's another thing brands don't think about is not only do you have to work with influencers, but it's way better to build a real relationship with influencers, not just work with them through a platform or through set up campaigns through, agencies. They can also help run social influencer, and just also creating, for me, the biggest thing is like just being able to create content right away. So let's say we go back to this example, we find that the fast transfer speed is something that really resonated, and it's, 10 a.m. in the morning. I can then go to my internal content creator and say, hey, this is what's working. Here are 6 other angles or messages or talking points. Go make me 3 videos. And by 3 p.m. that day, those ads can be completed, edited by the same person, and then sent to me and uploaded into Ads Manager, and they'll be live and spending by 4 p.m. You can't do that if you don't have this function internally. You could certainly do it with a contractor, but one, it's going to cost more per piece of content you create because they work either on a hourly or a per content basis. Or 2, also 2, the content won't be as good as if somebody's internal. The context of somebody who's internal is just much greater than somebody who's external. And 3, it's just much faster. This content too can then be distributed across all your channels. And also this person is sort of like a not de facto, but think of them as an alternative or another layer to customer service, in the sense that they're the ones on the front line seeing what's happening with comments, with DMs, customer complaints. And, a lot of times they're the ones flagging that coupon codes are broken or something is not working right, and then they can transfer that information back. I did the math, and, if you're a brand that's doing at least 50 million, it's pretty easy to make $1 million in revenue from the internal content creator. So even if you assume $100K salary for this person, you're talking about a 10x ROI. Okay, now this one is something that a lot of brands still don't do, and I'm not really sure why, but a new customer offer. This is something that it's literally exactly what it sounds like. I used to do this at Hintwater, or this is rather where I started doing it, but instead of telling somebody, hey, come buy a case of water and try it, you say, hey, come buy 3 cases of water, because we know that 36 bottles is the best sampling size for a household. You also get 36 opportunities to try, or if you're a household of 4, maybe you get 9 opportunities to try, but at least you then get to try 3 different flavors because 12 bottles are in a case. There was also some economics on the shipping side where we realized at the time where if we shipped 1 case or 2 cases or 3 cases, we could ship that for the same amount, which is why we moved everything to 3s. In fact, if you go to Hint today, 8 years later, it's the exact same offer that we created 8 years ago. All the sales are the exact same. Everything's in 36 bottles or 3 case increments. Their Black Friday sale is in 9 cases because, again, it takes advantage of the 3 case increments. So that's a great example of a new customer offer. There's also the messaging that you get along with it, right? So instead of 3 cases being $60, we're saying 3 cases are $36, which equates to 36 bottles for $36, which equates to $1 a bottle plus free shipping. That $1 bottle plus free shipping is the messaging that works the best, and that's the messaging that gets pushed all over the website, all over banners, etc. There's another supplement brand that I've seen on the internet, and they said something like, you get a 30 serving starter kit. So basically a 1 month kit. It includes a frother, a spoon, a booklet app subscription to like a meditation app, and a pack of stickers. And off that whole thing, you basically get 40% off plus $100 in free gifts. Now, 40% off plus $100 in free gifts is an amazing attention grabber. But in reality, if we look at this, it's basically a 30 serving. So it's a 1 month serving, right? 30 servings. And then there's this like box of goodies you get for free, all attached to essentially an MSRP or a retail price, which is where you get to that $100 in free gifts, right? The meditation app subscription's $15 a month and you get 3 months free. You're already at 45 out of the 100. Then you add stickers, call that $10. You add a spoon and a frother, you call that, $15 each. You add a booklet, call that $20, whatever it may be. That's how you're getting to that. But the point is, or the punchline is, you've got a new customer offer. The last one to check out for inspiration here is these meal kit companies. They do this a lot, which is they have these amazing offers for you to get in, and then they're very, very, very good at subscriber optimization. In fact, HelloFresh, I think, has the best subscription optimization, churn reduction, or lapse subscriber bring back, basically bringing back people who weren't subscribers. They do the best job of it. And so I would definitely check out meal kit companies, HelloFresh, ButcherBox. There's a few others that are great, but those are, I think, my top two. And then once you've got the new customer offer, you can double dip with upsells. So once somebody adds something to cart, if there's not an intro offer, they're just on a PDP, they add something to cart, maybe you show an offer to upsell. There's a brand called Jackson with 2 X's, JAXXON. They have my favorite, simplest example of upsells. You go add something to the cart, you'll see a pop-up to add something complimentary at a discount. And then in the cart also, you have upsells there too, the highest take rate. So that's my recommendation, but do with that information what you will. Next one is customer review collection and syndication. There is nothing more, there's no higher ROI activity, in my opinion, than building a incredible customer review database and customer review like logging program. Basically, how do you ensure that you get the most number of reviews from customers? If most brands will plug into an Okendo, for example, and then just leverage the standard Okendo templates. But the best way to do this is actually just think about it out of the box. So don't just use their templates. Think about, okay, when does somebody get the product? When do they probably start using it? By when do they likely have an opinion based on the product? How do we reach out to them in a way that catches attention? How do we make sure we land in the important or primary inbox? How do we make sure that they feel like they're contributing to us, or they feel good when they're giving us a review? All of these things are things worth thinking about and spending time on, and it's different for each brand. There's no one size fits all of how to go and get reviews, but you should definitely have a program to collect reviews. The number one headlines that get click-through rates are things like, 100,000 plus 5-star reviews, over 50,000 reviews, 1 million bottles sold. The last one isn't as relevant, but the first two are you can only do that if you have a good review collection program. One of the best examples, in my opinion, of a brand that's collected reviews is Caraway. They're a cookware brand, and they've done the best job of constantly collecting reviews, not only from influencers and people who have big followings, which they did through their affiliate program, but also through media companies and publishers, which they do with PR and affiliate. But then, of course, lastly, with customers who are buying the products. They have collected well over 100,000 reviews. And, that is, it's a weapon. Honestly, it's a weapon. Once you get all your reviews, you can leverage an AI agent to read and analyze reviews, scan for angles that are most commonly mentioned. You can use that to turn that into a creative brief that you give to your team. You can take the most talked about benefits, create a listicle or an advertorial about it. You can take the top 5 most things and go pitch that as an article idea to different editors. But there's so much you can do. And, the only way you really get that proof, especially if you go to like the outside world with editors and whatnot, the best thing you can do is have reviews. That's the thing they're going to want to see the most. Okay, and I think this is the last thing, but AI agents. Now, AI agents are something that I think the next 6 months, we're going to see all of the tech and SaaS companies come out with AI agents. We've already seen Triple Whale and Motion and Highbeam, for example. They've already started coming out and leveraging agents. Brands are already doing this. And it's amazing. I've seen the demos of these platforms, and it's honestly mind-blowing what is being done. Everything from building a 12-week cash flow model in 30 seconds based on historicals and ad spend and click-through rate and CPMs, all the way to being able to ask the Highbeam AI, hey, what's the LTV of customers that come in from Instagram versus LTV of customers that come in through AppLovin? And you can get these types of insights and answers. So in my opinion, this isn't going to replace people. This is actually just going to remove bottlenecks and make your people move a lot faster. So for example, it's almost like having employees or interns or coordinators or whoever that they never take PTO. They don't need They don't need too much, really. They just go and they just do things. And it's up to you as the marketer, the operator, the owner, the whatever, to figure out how do you use AI in these cool ways. So I wrote down a few ideas of things that I think are relevant. The first one is a trend intelligence agent. So it goes through Reddit, goes through Twitter, goes through TikTok, goes through YouTube comments, it goes through the news, and it figures out based on what it knows about your brand and what gets clicks and what gets sales and how your brand is talked about, what other angles you can take that are popular in current events and use those, because those do really well, especially on short form platforms like TikTok, Reels, etc. If you have ads that fit current events or are speaking toward current events or aligned with current events, those get the most engagement. Next one's a competitor intelligence agent. So it just starts tracking new ads, new landing pages, new offers from your competitive set of brands. And, it's not necessarily to spy. It's just kind of to see what are people doing? What are things that are happening? You probably already go to ads library and look at what other people are doing. This would essentially just do that process for you and kind of understand what patterns you look for and then deliver you a report every Monday in Slack, maybe. Offer optimization agent. This is something that could be either a agent that tells you how to update offers on your site, or it could be something. And again, I'm an Indian, but I don't know how to code, so I assume this is possible. It probably is possible. I just don't know how it would happen. But imagine if somebody comes to your site and based on their device location from the IP address, which is information that your site gets anyways, based on the device type and screen size, which your device gets anyways, and based on the UTM parameters, which your website gets anyways, you can now decide in real time, okay, should we sell this person 36 for 36? Should we sell them one case for $15? Should we sell them two cases for 20% off? Based on knowing that from their location, their screen size, and their traffic source, the AI might know that, well, actually, if somebody comes in through AppLovin on their phone, they're much better to buy this offer. There's a higher conversion rate and a higher LTV behind this offer than if we push them for this offer. So that's what that one is. And then the last one's a review and CX agent. So essentially just pulling themes from reviews, from DMs, from support tickets. And then, of course, flagging things as they come up. Hey, this coupon code's broken, this landing page is broken, this ad's broken, this link is broken. This thing's not working on the site, all the way to, hey, these are the things that people are actually caring about or asking, or we're not explaining enough on the site. So, creative team, here's the stuff you need to start focusing on. All right. I just yapped for a bunch. So, I'm done now. Here's my plugs. Add me on LinkedIn. Sign up for my newsletter if you want, nick.co/subscribe. Goes out every Sunday. It's free. Goes to about 100,000 people. I hope you enjoy this presentation and the rest of today's conference, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise on CPG, retail, and e-commerce. If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.